Yeah, I decided to forego my usual countdown and feel real official, and real because it's just, we're just hanging out tonight. That's how I feel.
While we still can.
What? What? Yeah. Oh, I just heard myself twice. What?
Oh, yeah. Like that.
Oh my God. What
I'm
was
hearing
that?
it. What is going on?
Sorry, I had a window open and then the YouTube thing went live as I was talking to you, and my settings are all designed so they feed into each other so I can share my audio. It's a whole thing. But hey, we're live now though. Officially, we're live. We're on the YouTubes with people chilling out.
And people be coming in.
Are they? Oh, look at this. We already got a chat. Yeah. This channel really lifted my hopes. Hey. Okay.
I'll count on that. That after
we're done. Wow, look at that. I mean, we haven't even started yet, and here we are. By the way, if you want something that lifts your hopes, may I recommend Reese's Minis Unwrapped, which I'll be snacking on all night tonight because I just feel like I feel like I've earned this today. I've done 4 podcast interviews today. It's been a long day. I earned this, and I get to talk to 2 good friends of mine live on YouTube. Just a good night.
Would be a better night if you had sent us some candy, but
I know I'm pissed. Just saying, you could have got a girl some Reese's as well, but instead
I'll put it away. My bad. My bad. I'm sorry. Hello, friends. Good to see everyone. Happy Wednesday night, 8:00 Eastern. I don't know. I was talking. Well, first off, let me just do some introductions. Maybe you're new to the channel. I always forget that people aren't privy, thank God, to all of my chats and everything, and all that stuff. But Ashley and Janice, hello, good to see both of you. We've been friends. Well, maybe I shouldn't make that assumption. We've been talking together in communication in group chats now for a bit. So it's good to have both of you on the live with me. How'd I do?
Yeah, I think we'll be friends soon.
Yeah, me too. Maybe. Me too. Any day now. Hold our hope,
We're getting close.
Hold our hope, buddy.
We only shared an Airbnb last year at Content Warning. Janice, you were one. Actually, you were the only person we did a story a mini docuseries on. So, but I guess we're getting there.
We're getting there. You're on probation.
Bringing Sarah into the group chat actually really helped. So
Sarah's
brought it up. Like I was like, oh, Sarah's in the group chat? Closer.
Sarah is awesome.
Sarah's in. She's our friend.
Yeah, that sure. Sarah is our friend. Exactly.
And this probably doesn't help, right? The fact that I didn't give you guys any of this. So yeah, Jessica's right. Friends share candy. How dare I? I'm so thoughtless.
It is who you are. It's who you are.
It's who you are. Friends, welcome in. You're going to be in for a real treat because this is the kind of conversation that it always is, even offline. And it's great to bring some of this stuff, I think, to the audience because, sometimes there's a lot of shit going on. A lot of not good shit. And we need a space where we can, I don't know, just have this kind of conversation and just have a little bit of fun. And then, while we're talking about the potential end of the world as we know it. So I don't know. I'm trying to find ways. I was talking to April LaJoy. She's our co-host for for the Friday recaps. And I'm like, April, we got to find a way for next year to think about maybe some more funny kind of segments to kind of lighten the mood a little bit, but also, Trump just got reelected, so I'm not really sure what to do with that shit. So I don't know. That's kind of how I'm feeling tonight, but that's why I got these as pick-me-ups. More Reese's peanut butter cups.
Must be nice.
I'd love a pick-me-up right now.
To be fair, though, Janice, you did leave me. You left New York City to go to the West Coast, as far away from me as possible. And I low-key took it kind of personally.
Why? You're on probation. Why? Why would you ever take that personally?
Well, I thought we were really starting something positive there. And then you're like, nah, screw it. I'm going to California.
Listen, I have to look out for me.
That's true.
New York is great. East Coast is great. Tim, you're great.
Thank you.
But I can't afford you.
Do you want to, both of you, maybe introduce yourselves to the audience so they have some kind of context besides me saying we're all friends? Maybe, Janice, we can start with you.
Wow. Let's see. Okay. I am Janice Legata. Or according to my phone, Janny T. I'm not sure who that is, but that's who I am. No, I'm Janny the cat. I am God is not given. I am an artist, and a muser. I genuinely enjoy thinking, and that is what most of my work revolves around. Just having thoughts, sharing thoughts, pondering things. It's what I like to do. And yeah.
And you
That's
do it
all
so
I'll say
well.
about
I mean,
me.
you really are a wordsmith. I mean, the names you come up with, I'm like, how first, and what makes you so brilliant, in my opinion, Janice, is that the ideas you came up with were like, oh, of course, like, duh. It was so obvious. How did no one see it but you? Because it makes sense once you say it. But if you never said it, I would never think of it. And that is a hard, like, needle to thread, right? Because some people are like brilliant and it's like, okay, dude, that's such an out there thought. You're so smart. But when you're able to make up names about things or, situations that you're like, yes, I would definitely call it that. But I would also never think about that because I am a dummy. But Janice is not. So props to you for wordsmithing because you do it so well.
I am a dummy though. I'm just a dummy who thinks a lot.
Because you did do that Hillsong internship, and
I did not do the internship.
Oh, you didn't do the internship. Oh,
I went to the college.
Oh. So you gave them money.
The internship gives them money too.
Oh, it
the
does?
Internship,
Oh.
There are levels of dumb in evangelicalism. And internship is just above college, but they're neck and neck. And the only reason internship is dumber than college is because you do pay for the internship and you don't even get the little piece of paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, if people want to see part of your story, they can go to our YouTube channel and watch the mini short we did with you, which, by the way, I will say, I'm really proud of that thing. It came out really good. It looks good. Like Tom was our producer, did an amazing job. I love doing that. Plus, it was just fun hanging out with you like for a full day. We had a lot of fun. We even read part of your private journal entry about you going to Hillsong Australia College for a chance of new beginnings of sorts. Again,
dumb. Certified.
Okay, well, I guess we can land that plane on your intro.
Certified dummy.
The things that, anyway. Ashley, how about you? Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
I'm Ashley. My Instagram is unashamedly Ashley. I had it, Janice. I forget. I'm currently on private because I've been interviewing for some jobs.
Oh,
and
shoot. Okay, congrats.
I'm a real 9-to-5er, so you have to hide your content just in case, even though there's nothing bad, just in case. And so if you want to follow me, you can. I'll do a little let you in. And I am someone that you ever get to a place in life where you're like, how did I get here? That's how I feel about the adjacentness to the famous content creators that I interact with. So, Janice makes a lot of sense to be on this call, but you might be wondering why I'm here. And same.
You're here for several reasons, one of which is that we are friends. But number two, I mean, you have a lot of wisdom to offer, even though I know you're not a content creator. Whenever you do talk, I'm always like, I mean, maybe we should tell the people the story, Ashley.
Oh, we should tell the people of how we. Okay, listen.
Yeah, the story.
The reason that Tim and I became friends is because.
I'm sorry. I'm trying not to laugh too hard. I'm already dying.
You know what? Tim's Tim's shenanigans and Tim's foolishness, maybe, has brought all of us together.
No, it's true. It really is true. It really is true. If you've been here for a while, you know Tim used to just let anybody on his lives. Anybody. Didn't matter who you were, where you're from. If you were going to have a
Instagram
good
lives.
faith conversation. Yeah, Instagram lives. If you were going to have a good faith conversation, Tim, ready to be with you. And he had a girl on his live that was essentially a COVID denier, in my opinion. Worked with like the most vulnerable people and went to Passion Fest. No, what'd she go?
Yeah, it was the Passion Conference in Georgia a couple of years ago when Atlanta, Georgia was having a big outbreak. They were doing this big worship event. And
the worship event ended up being a super spreader event. And Tim had this person on live, basically legitimizing why, and they're in healthcare, legitimizing why they should be able to go to this conference. And I was, yes, Tim Foolery, yes.
Trademark.
And I was like enraged. I like sent Tim the like meanest, like, what is wrong with you message.
You did.
And Tim was like, hey, you want to jump on a call and chat? And I was like, I guess. And then we talked and I was like, I don't think you should have people that you haven't vetted on your lives because it can be dangerous. And Tim was like, let me tell you why good faith conversations are good. And then we were like, let's agree to disagree. And then he had another live.
Okay.
Where he had a straight up Nazi on Tim. Oh boy said he read Mein Kampf. Tim.
No, I knew. Okay, hold on. Pause. I'm telling the story now from my vantage point, okay? Because you're Ashley, what you said up to this point is factually true. Like, you're totally right. We did have a conversation. I did say, let's chat. We chatted. And I don't remember what I said, but I believe you when I'm like, good faith dialogue. It's important we have conversations. You know, I was still pretty new in the deconstruction space. I was learning, but not learning fast enough, granted. And so I do this live. I forgot what the topic was. Maybe it was like debate me or something like that, or we disagree. Let's talk. And I see Ashley's handle pop in, and I'm like, ugh, like shit. Like she caught me, but I'm kind of in it now. So let me prove to her how good faith dialogue really works, right? Like I got you. Let me show you something, kind of vibe, right? So this guy hops in, and we're talking, and I. He says something to the effect of like, look, definitely like Hitler and like the Nazis were bad. But, and once he said but, I was like, oh shit, like no way. This guy is not about to try and like bring in Nazi shit and be like, but it wasn't maybe as bad, or like maybe they had some valid I was like, oh my God. And I remember thinking to myself, Ashley is watching this. I'm gonna get canceled. Like this is it. This is the end of T&E as we know it. I am toast because
he did say he read Mein Kampf. He did say. Oh my
God! I believe you.
Read Mein Kampf. I could be wrong, but
I think I was so mortified I blacked out that part of the conversation because I get red thinking about it today. But that was the moment I knew. I'm like, she was right.
Never again.
Never again.
And to be clear, it's not like Tim went into this call like, oh, this guy's going to be a propagandist. Like, that's not what happened.
Right.
But,
right.
Oh boy, was a white supremacist. He 1,000% was.
And that was the last time Tim Whitaker ever went live on Instagram. Like, legit, have never done another live inviting people on randomly. To this day, it has never happened again on Instagram. Yeah, because I think I told you guys this. I'm pretty sure I told both of you this. I'm not sure if the audience knows this, so I'll tell you all now. This was the second big moment. There was something before this where, again, new, doing the podcast thing, want to talk to anyone to try to understand, and someone connected me with some guy who was like, let's just say his email address ended in @ProtonMail. That's like a big red flag, okay? And so I'm like, hey man, I'll talk to you on the podcast. Let's have a good faith dialogue. So we go live, or not live. Sorry, we go to record a podcast. He won't turn his camera on. He uses a fake name, and let's just say it was a very unsettling conversation. And at the end of it, when this man denied the Holocaust to me, saying like, no, it didn't happen, I was like, oh shit, I am in way too deep for this. And then I found out that the guy who connected us was also on the call in the background. I didn't know that until the end. I just felt like so hoodwinked, so bamboozled. I went to bed nauseous that night. Like legit, I was sick to my stomach. Like, who did I just interview? I never released the episode. I never released it. So I thought to myself, there's no point in doing this because everyone knows what white supremacists already think. There's no point in amplifying this guy's message. So that was in the back of my mind. And then after I talked to my friend Ashley, I don't listen to her, and turns up a Nazi defender shows up in my live. And so that I was like, that's it. We're making some changes around here. I'm making some changes. And that's how we got
that. That isn't an overview of this whole
Janice, yes,
election cycle, and just where we are in general. I don't know what is. Like,
I was
white
just
men not listening? Is that to black women? I mean,
lots of people not listening to black women. Lots of people.
And letting the Nazis in.
It's funny, but in this terrible kind of way.
Right. Well, I mean, what else can you do besides cry or laugh? I'd rather laugh, I think, even though, like I've already cried. So, and we're public now, so I guess we have to laugh about it. But okay, I mean, maybe that is a good. I mean, nice Hillsong level segue into this conversation. Like, I mean,
I did not get paid the big bucks for nothing.
Yeah, good times. Hillsong, New York City, right? Good times, man. Good. Oh boy, yeah. Cheers. I look. The main crux of this live, and by the way, friends, if you're watching and you have not liked this video yet, please give it a like. It tells YouTube, push us out to more people. And come on, we're having a good time. Hopefully you're drinking. Hopefully you're watching. Let's get down to brass tacks. This election, I really want to know from both of you what you think the hell happened. Because, I was under the impression from everyone, not just from like progressive pundits, like everyone, razor thin, it's going to be really close, like down to the wire, big swing states are in play. And I mean, now that more of the vote's in, Trump won the popular vote, but not by much. Historically, he's on the very bottom, but he's still, first time in 20 years, a Republican won the popular vote. It's a win's a win in that regard. And, like, frankly, the House, the Senate, of course, the Supreme Court, and now Trump, like, all went red. And I think it was CNN that said Harris did not overperform in any county in America. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, there's obviously a lot of layers to this, but I'm curious for you two, like, how are you reading the room now with all this shit? I mean, because black women showed up. I mean, you look at the data, like, they showed up and they did their part. But like other groups of people didn't. Of course, white men, do we ever? Let's just be real about this. Like, we sure as hell didn't. White evangelicals definitely didn't. White Protestants really didn't. I mean, it was like 60-40. It was not way too close for comfort. So, I mean, either one of you can kick off, but I really am curious. We haven't talked about this really at all, which is why I want to do it, live on YouTube and just have the conversation with the community, because I'm trying to make sense of this, and I want to know how you guys are making sense of this.
So I think to know me is to know that I am a fairly nuanced person. I think, Tim, Janice, I'm fairly nuanced. While I'm not going to go on lives with COVID deniers or white supremacists.
All right. I get it, okay.
I do want to hear why people kind of operate the way that they do, think the way that they do.
Right.
And so I think that, for me, I think I'm most disappointed with leftists with their purity tests. Like, I tend to find myself most angry in this scenario at the leftists who were like, "Don't vote for Kamala. Kamala and Trump are the same." And I'm like, sure, Kamala's gonna be, the top cop, but any president's gonna be the top cop. Any president contributes to war. And I think that my red line is genocide. My red line is genocide. My red line is mass deportation. My red line is trans kids not having access to healthcare. I can have multiple red lines, and I can advocate and work towards all of my red lines. And so I think that the purity test of leftists I felt the most disappointed in. What I feel like I found, and I've talked to like friends from the Midwest, and I'm not from the Midwest. I'm a West Coast elitist, and a lot of leftists are West Coast and East Coast elitists who don't actually understand the implications of a Trump presidency because we are the last states to be impacted by it. I am very protected where I live on the West Coast. I do not have to flee my state to have access to abortion care. My state, we don't know what's going to happen, but my state's going to make it very hard for my right to be married to my wife to be taken away. And so I'm more insulated, more protected, and I feel like a lot of leftists, the loudest leftist voices, also are very insulated and protected. So I think the leftists are who I'm most disappointed in. But I also, I'm not necessarily disappointed in Harris because I think that we got into this place where, as Black women always are, we expect perfection from Black women, and so Harris could have. There's nothing she could have done to win this election because we expect perfection for Black women, and that is real. And I'm still trying to find my words for that, but I really feel like the Democratic Party and leftists disenfranchised the working class.
Yeah.
Like in the Midwest, I was talking to someone the other day about they're from Ohio and they're apolitical. And I don't really understand that, but I was like letting them share with me. And they were basically talking about in Ohio, like in the 90s, buildings were boarded up and those buildings are still boarded up. And like when the economy is bad and when jobs move overseas and when they're very impacted. And I was like, okay, like I could see why you feel forgotten about. I could see why you feel like no political party is for you. And if the loudest, most diabolical presence is telling you, I can fix these things for you, if no one has fixed it to this point, it makes sense to me logically why you would do that. And this person looks like you. You can identify like apples and oranges. This person's also an elitist, but you identify with them more because they look like you. You're more skeptical of Black and brown people. And then also people are not going to like this. So just in your heart, take it. And if you are really upset about it, send T&E an email.
Thank you, Ashley. For that.
A lot of leftists and a lot of white leftists throw away their families. And so your grandma in Ohio is voting. You don't like that she's racist or she doesn't use people's pronouns. And if you yourself are impacted by your family's violence, by all means, don't be around them. Protect yourself. But if you're uncomfortable with your grandma using the N-word, but she's not actually impacting you as a person, you just don't like it, don't throw her away because that just sends these people down rabbit holes where they have no one who can talk to them. And so I think it's like, for me, it is, we forgot about this large population of the country. And I do think for some people, the fact that grapes are $10, here's the thing, in Seattle, grapes are always $10. I'm very unimpacted by the cost of groceries because groceries are always expensive where I live. But I don't know what it's like to make $10 an hour and grapes are $10. And I think we're not having intellectually honest conversations about that. We are just blaming Republicans. We're blaming Christian nationalists. And there is something to that because they're more organized. They don't throw each other away. They can have differences. But I think that leftists, I think that we lost the plot so intensely that we refuse to bring along people that have been hurt by policies in this country. But we don't believe that because we believe in oppression Olympics. So if some person is out in the world is experiencing it worse, we just throw everything away and we don't sit in nuance.
Wow. What do you think, Janice? I'm honestly curious to hear your thoughts. We haven't talked about this at all, really, so I'm curious.
disagree with everything Ashley
Ah.
I
said.
know.
No.
Nice. Fight.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I come at it from a very different perspective in the sense that like I truly believe that we as a nation have been being tested and have been being shown who we are since Trump first ran. Like I look at life, everything, just kind of from this bigger, and it may be because I'm an artist and I'm a storyteller and just trying to figure out how things work and what's going on. But like America is an imperial colonial country. America is a house of horrors. America is a terrible nation. And whether you believe in God, justice, the universe, whatever. Like I do think whatever the power behind all of this is good, is just. There is a moral arc to the universe and we are heading towards something better. And in that better world, America cannot exist as it is. And I feel like judgment is a real thing. I don't believe in the rapture. I don't think I think that's the easy way out. Like, oh, we messed this up so much and now our God is just gonna come and take us. No, like it's very American. It's very American exceptionalism, right? For us to be like, oh, Trump got reelected. It's the end of the world. No, it's the end of this stupid nation, probably. But I think that needs to happen. And I think, again, we've just been being shown who we are and how we are very clearly, just through different things that have happened over this past decade, these past 10 years. Like things have just gotten progressively worse and progressively crazier. And in just this past year, right, like I don't like everything that was happening in Palestine. You know, there was the purple MAGA, right? Like make America genocidalist again. You can't tell me a day when America hasn't been funding a genocide. And that was why like that red line for me wasn't a red line, because I'm like, oh, I understand again our American exceptionalism. Most of us just kind of became aware of Palestine a year ago, and then we're like, oh, my being aware of it was what was needed for this problem to be fixed, and now we should be able to do this in a year. And like the fact that people aren't jumping on board, again, these moral purity tests, and you're, whatever. No, this is a terrible nation that's been doing terrible things for a long time. And like with this election in particular, I think it just really showed us who we are. And so when whatever happens to America happens, there's going to be like no excuse. Like nobody can say like, but we were trying. We were doing better. No, this country should be allowed to continue as it has cuz we're all good people. No, we're terrible people. And even just the fact that like it was a black woman running, you look at the stats, and Tim, you might know this better than you should know. How many white evangelicals are there in America? Like
it's close to like 30% or somewhere like in like the white evangelical sphere. I think technically something like that.
But like how many millions of people?
Oh, probably like tens of
Is
millions. Yeah. I mean, they're probably like 30 to 60 million. I would imagine something like that.
So if you take like the 92% of black women who voted Democratic, voted for Kamala Harris, versus, because I think the three biggest blocks, right, were black women, black men, and then white evangelicals, right, who were doing whatever. And we can't say, like, I'm not entertaining conversations about like what Kamala could have done better, what the campaign could have done better.
Same.
No, this was white supremacy and it was misogyny. That's it. And like you can't, if you have, it's more, I think it's like 85 to 87% of black people altogether, because black men still voted mostly for Harris, but not as much as black women. But like if you have these two groups, you got black people and you got white evangelicals.
Here, I have it here.
And we are doing,
there you go,
the exact opposite thing.
Right.
That's white supremacy. Because what are you can't say that like black people we're not affected by the economy. You can't say that black people aren't religious, that black people aren't Christian. And so when you have these two groups that are probably around the same amount of people and they are this diametrically opposed,
Right.
there's no middle ground here. Like
Right.
there's nothing to talk about here. We are imagining, wanting two different worlds. And whatever your religious affiliation is, we are serving two different gods. And the white evangelicals, this is on them. This is the nation that they want. This is what they've been pushing for. And at this point, I want them to have it. I want them to have it so much. Like, it's funny to me that they're such sore winners. Like, and they get mad, right? If you're like, I hope you get everything that you voted for. But I don't know. For me, I'm like, this is who we are. And I had not imagined Trump winning. Like, I just couldn't even go there in my mind. And so I was very, very hopeful going into the election.
Yeah.
And I don't regret that. Like, I know a lot of people are like sad and like feeling embarrassed. Like, never be embarrassed about being hopeful and about believing better of people. And like, I don't know, we had a good run, right? And we had some good times. And like living in that hope, like I would have hated to have thought Trump was going to win 6 months ago and been living like in this feeling all that time. Like, I think that was a gift, that was a reprieve, that we did have these moments of hope, and we didn't have to face the reality until the reality hit. But now, and again, I too am a blue state elitist. I'm not in immediate danger, aside from, the regular immediate danger of being a Black woman in America. But I don't know. I'm secretly very hopeful about what's to come, because I just don't, none of this is real, right? And the more every day Trump puts up one of his new pics and it's more ridiculous than the last. And I'm just waiting for like more people to kind of click in to where I am, where it's like, y'all, none of this is real. There are no rules. I don't know why we, the Democrats, the leftists, the, progressives, why we keep trying to live up to these morals and these standards and play by these rules that the right has put out that they don't even live by. But I just feel like, I don't know, the veil is being lifted in all ways. And we know empires end, right? This empire, this is a failed empire. This empire is failing. And I don't think that has to mean, destruction. But the same way, America exists because it broke off from Great Britain. Maybe there's another version of America. There has to be another version of America after this one. But as it is, right, the empire is failing right on time. And I can't be sad about that, really.
Yeah. Yes. I'm somewhere. I'm on both sides of this conversation. Like, I agree with both. And I was looking, Janice, at what you at some of the exit poll data. I found this one here. I'm going to pull up. I thought was like, it kind of goes to what you were saying about this is the America that they wanted. Here it is. Let me grab this here. So Protestant / other Christians, 72%. For Trump, and then if they were white or born again evangelical Christian, 82% for Trump. Even Catholic, 60% for Trump, 60%. So like white Protestants and white Catholics, they were some of the strongest supporters of Trump
because they worship the same God, money and power.
Okay. what I'm going to say is not a critique of Harris at all, because honestly, I found Harris really compelling. I thought she was a great speaker. I thought I mean, I watched her first acceptance speech, like her before the actual DNC, affordable health care. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. But do you think that whoever was pulling the strings for running her campaign was just, I mean, I think about like how, and this is a bigger issue. This is not a Harris issue. This is a Democratic Party issue that I want your thoughts on, because I've been trying to make sense of all these pieces, because obviously racism and misogyny, xenophobia are part of the American psyche that are deeply embedded, right? I mean, Trump ran on the platform of we're going to do mass deportation, and people are like, yes, like we should absolutely be doing this, right? And I know people in my life that are that would have the view, although they haven't told me this intentionally, specifically, that well, but women really can't. They're not called to lead like how men are, right? So I know that's all. These are all factors that go into it, and on top of that, I do wonder, like, I think about just how the campaign and the Democratic Party as a party. I was at the DNC. I told you guys that. I was there. I was there for all 5 days, and it was really difficult when they wouldn't put even a Palestinian voice on just to talk. I mean, forget even talking about Gaza, just to be on the stage. And then I'm watching Adam Kinzinger. I'm watching military generals. I'm watching people be like, our military is the greatest force in the world for good. And I'm like, this doesn't feel like, am I at the right like convention sometimes? And then I also feel like with just how limited the Democratic Party engaged social media, and how it just seemed like there was a very different approach. I'm not saying that is the only thing that cost them the election, but I do agree with Ashley on this point. I definitely feel that when I was at the DNC, I saw a glimpse of that caricature of the Democrat elite. The Democratic establishment, who kind of looks at like rural America and goes, oh, those idiots don't know what they're talking about. Those idiots have no clue what's going on. And I do wonder if some of that like just kind of backfired on them, with just some of the approaches. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm just trying to make sense of this.
So I think that so one of the delegates, the Palestinian woman who was chosen, this is what I hate about social media and what I hate about leftists. When as soon as someone stops saying what you want them to say, they're terrible, they're horrible. So I can't remember this woman's name, but the woman that was like, they wanted to speak and basically they were told no. This woman was not pro Jill Stein, actually, was like, I'm going to vote Democrat because I am a Georgian Democrat. And people, I won't say their names but like leftists, particularly white leftists, kind of came for this Palestinian woman's throat. And she shared the DNC. She's like, I get it. The DNC and the RNC are a celebration. They are this is the kickoff party to say this is the candidate, and you're supposed to be really gung-ho, and you're supposed to be really excited. I'm not saying for good or for bad, like the RNC also did not have any people who were not extremely for them, which is like, that is supposed to be a thing. And so I think that woman shared a lot about like, there are lots of Democrats in the United States. There are working class Democrats. There are family Democrats. And we just see the election Democrats, and we have opinions and feelings about those ones. But like, to me, it made sense to me why they would not have someone get on the stage who was not 100% for voting for Kamala Harris. Like, that makes sense to me at the DNC. At another place, sure. But I think that what I felt most like angry about that, again, I'm a nuanced person. People are not going to like to hear this. There was a Jewish family that spoke at the DNC, very, very pro, clearly, Harris and the Democrats, but shared about having the hostages come home. And people are like, they had the Jewish people speak, they should have Palestinians speak, tit for tat. But they had two very different opinions about who they wanted to be the Democratic nominee, and the uncommitted, by logic, are uncommitted. So they didn't actually want Harris to be the president. And the point of the DNC is to celebrate the person becoming president or the presidential nominee. And so I 100% understood the reasoning of the DNC to not have the uncommitted speak. Would I have made a different choice? Yes. Do I wish that they would have made a different choice? Sure. But do I actually understand why they made the decision that they did? Yeah, because they didn't want somebody to get on that stage and to shit all over the Democrats like leftists have been doing for months. Harris could do nothing that made them feel better. She spoke more openly than Joe Biden about Palestinians having the right of self-defense the same way that Jewish people do. And hear me clearly when I say this. And I know people will disagree with me, and that's fine. And I saw this with Black women, in leftist attempt to humanize Palestinians, they absolutely dehumanized Jewish people, and they were horribly anti-Semitic. In the same way, as soon as Black women were like, I'm going to vote for Harris because you know what's going to happen if Trump gets into office? Everything that he said is going to happen. And immediately the left went anti-Black. And leftists were saying, just because I'm calling you out or calling Harris out doesn't mean that I'm being anti-Black or anti-Semitic or whatever. If you're blocking people, if you're pulling people's yarmulkes off, if you're screaming in Black women's faces, you're being anti-Semitic and anti-Black. And so I think I feel like a little ragey when people talk about the uncommitted at the DNC, because I think that it was more complicated than we agree with. And if people actually continue to follow the uncommitted Palestinians, which no leftists did, they would know that a lot of those uncommitted eventually were like, well, I'm going to vote for Harris because the alternative is much, much worse. And that girl said, because people were calling her a sellout, they were saying crazy things to her. That girl was like, they literally called and rejected me. Not the uncommitted movement. They called to reject me as a person, and I'm still going to vote Democrat because I understand the fight that we're in. And so I think I balk at that a little bit. I think I balk at that a little bit. I understand where you're coming from, and I understand where people are coming from when they talk about it. But if that's the thing that cost Harris the election, I still think it's stupid.
Sorry, yeah, I should be, to be extra clear on my end. I don't think it cost necessarily Harris the election. I think most people who, I'm one of them, right? I was someone who, during the election, I was like, if Harris gets elected, we have to hold her feet to the fire on the genocide of the Palestinians. Like, it's not even a question. I critiqued Joe Biden for funding, the IDF. Yeah. Like, I was very outspoken about that. I did sit in front of the uncommitted movement live when they gave their press conference right outside the DNC. I sat with Qassam Rashid, a human rights lawyer, working with him, thinking about these things. So I'm one of those people who is like, I strongly disagree with the Democrat Party's approach on this topic, like, for so many reasons. Also, I did vote for Harris because I knew that, like, a Trump presidency, even though they're both pretty bad on Gaza, would be worse on Gaza somehow. And unfortunately, that is what we're seeing because Trump picked Mike Huckabee, the guy who thinks that Palestinian people don't even exist. He doesn't even use the name Palestinian to describe the Palestinian people, right? This is a man who said he doesn't use the term the West Bank or Gaza because, you should use Judea and Samaria. So that's really freaking bad. I don't think that cost her the election. I was being a little more broad. And again, this is just one piece of the puzzle. I'm not saying this is the only reason why. I want to just reinforce on this conversation in front of everyone that, like, I totally agree with Janice so much on this is just also who America is and what it's founded on, for sure. Putting on, like, my political analyst hat for a second, I do think about how, the right-wing, whatever, MAGA movement has been working diligently for over a decade with billionaire funding to really tunnel into social media networks and create this, like, really unofficial but still connected interweb of kind of capturing people and kind of moving them to the right. I mean, one example, and I don't know why this happened, I'm just telling you what happened. Joe Rogan endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2020. And now he endorsed Trump. Like, okay, wait, what happened? Did someone buy him off? I don't know. But, like, something happened where a lot of these people shifted somewhere, right? And I think that was a huge point that, frankly, the Democrat establishment, not Harris, establishment as a whole, has not been thinking about messaging, because a lot of them are like, well, we have mainstream media. We can go on MSNBC. And I'm not sure about you two or about the audience, but I don't ever watch cable news live. I see the viral clips on TikTok. I don't see the same kind of effort that right-wing media has been putting into those spaces that I see on the left when it comes to some of those organizations and that messaging. I think that was a part, not the only part, but a part of also why we saw such a disparity in numbers that we weren't fully expecting to see.
But I think to your point, the Republican Party has been doing that for 10 years. She was a senator 10 years ago. So to me, like it's like, if we're going to talk about, it's to me, it's not her team. It is the Democrats in general need to change the way that they. But
totally.
I think
that's why I said establishment. The establishment.
Yeah, but I just think when you said like her team could have done more, I just disagree. I just think it all falls into the perfection that even white liberals require of her and her campaign. And I mean, there were lots of people. There were people who would have voted for Joe Biden who did not vote for her. And so what do you do with that in this country? That is just a reality of like, these people were never going to vote for a Black woman. And the same right-wing people who peddled that Kamala Harris, I literally saw a Palestinian American woman where someone said on there, they posted a thing of Black women, and then someone talked about Kamala, and this Palestinian American woman who's like pretty aggressive online literally said, someone said, Kamala isn't even really Black. She's also Indian. And like, we're peddling the same thing, the same talking points as Trump. And then this woman was like, yeah, you're right. And then they started talking about that. And I'm like, what does that even have to do with any of this? And so I just think that the misogyny on all sides really showed its head. And there was nothing anyone, Harris or her team, could have done to move this along. Not social media, because the left also was using social media as effectively as the right to peddle the same conspiracy theories and nonsense about Kamala because they're upset about what's happening in Gaza. And it's okay to be upset about that. We should be really mad about genocide, but it is not a reason to like give a life sentence to everybody else in the world and the people of Gaza now even more than before. Like it's gonna be worse now than before, like when in Joe Biden's time, right? Like, and so I think that's the part where I'm like, criticism for Harris to me doesn't even matter, because we, like, the left and the right were so effective in their campaigning to not have her in office.
I mean, Janice, I have another question, but I want to give you the floor first to kind of respond to some of the things I said, et cetera, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think we're having all these conversations like underwater, like already, like we're not. We have an electoral college, like we're in a ridiculous position to start with. And Democrats are always coming from behind anyway, right? Like, we're always fighting. Like, it's ridiculous that we have swing states, right? And that they do forget about huge swaths of the country because they don't matter. My vote doesn't matter, right? Like, and that was part of what I had to deal with, right? As a blue bubble elite, right? Being like, my vote really doesn't even matter. So which is why I was very careful and very clear about not telling people what they should be doing and not judging people for their vote, other than if you voted for Trump. That was the wrong thing to do. And, you know, may God not have mercy on your soul, honestly. But like, we're not talking about the Electoral College. We're not talking about all the other genocides. We're not talking, like, there's just a lot of things that we're not talking about that all majorly affect this outcome. And so it's like, I don't think the Harris campaign could have run a better campaign. There's a lot of, you know, woulda, shoulda, coulda, Joe Biden should have dropped out earlier, blah, blah, blah. Like all these things that maybe. The Harris campaign happened when it did. It happened how it did. I don't think they could have run a better campaign. There was nothing they could do. They were betting on people just having sense,
Yeah.
and just wanting a better option. And people didn't want that. And I think people didn't want it because it was a Black woman. Like we cannot get away from this was white supremacy, this was misogyny at work. And I don't even know why. No, I do know why we're afraid to have these conversations, because people don't really want to drill down into that.
Yeah.
But that's it's the root. Like our bad roots are showing. Our bad roots, our bad fruits, it's all coming up. And like, I don't know, like if Harris could have waved a magic wand and done whatever you think she should have done, was that going to change your white supremacist friend's mind? No.
No,
It would.
I don't think it would have. And I think part of that is because I'm not sure what the right terminology is. So just, humor me for a minute. But I think part of that is because, first off, you don't undo deep-seated white supremacy that's reinforced through a fire hose of right-wing media in 2 months during an election cycle. Like that's just not how brains work. I mean, I was hungry to change my mind. It took me like 3 or 4 years to start getting my head around new concepts, right? And I wanted to see things differently. So none of my personal thoughts or like the Monday morning quarterback position, so to speak, none of that has anything to do with Harris at all, because I agree with you guys. Given the very tight turnaround, they did a lot. They did a lot of stuff, a lot. And I honestly, I really thought like I said, I watched Harris give the acceptance speech in the DNC. I loved it. I was there giving a standing ovation. I mean, center stage. I saw Tim Walsh speak. I'm like, I love this guy. I saw his kid. I was energized, and I was really hopeful. I really was. I was like, oh, this feels so much better. I love how this feels. So this was, I'm not trying to come across as Mr. Debbie Downer. I'm just trying to find like what did I miss? Besides the obvious stuff that we all know about, America's racist, there's, problems. What did I miss?
But why besides?
Well, because
like, what good
does
it do?
Well,
because
got it.
Because I'll say, like, my Roman Empire, right, is a snippet of a conversation I had with you, Tim, at Content Warning. And I don't even remember how we got into it, but we were talking about white supremacy, as we do. And talking about how like whiteness is this manufactured thing, right? White people are a creation of America. And whiteness actually, it just absorbs and it like destroys, right? So you were saying how like, no, like your actual heritage is Italian and German,
and
right?
Greek. Yep.
But then you were like, but what am I going to say? Because I don't want to not like German. I can't like, we all know, what that connotation is. But then it's like, how is white American better? Like, what is there to, where is the virtue in that? What is there to brag about there? And like that moment haunts me because I'm like, oh my God, that's the problem. Like whiteness, people do not understand how deeply bad it is. And like I don't want to say I'm German because they did the Holocaust. What have white Americans done that is not horrendous? But like you guys, you don't associate yourself with slavery. You don't associate yourself with the genocide of the Palestinians now. Like it's like all these terrible things happened in this country, but nobody's responsible for it because whiteness has allowed people to like separate themselves from that. And so that's why we're like, no, okay, it was white supremacy and it was misogyny, but besides that, what can we talk about besides that? Because there's like, we don't, and I struggle with this too. Like I can imagine a world without capitalism, and I can't imagine a world without white supremacy. And like I realize that because I imagine, I'm like, the community I want to build and where I want to live. And I can imagine like this happy place where we're all good. But there's like a gate around it because somewhere out there, there are still white supremacists. White supremacy is still out there. There are still people who want to do us harm, even in my wildest dreams. And like white supremacy is the issue. And when we're trying to say, well, besides that, what could she have done? We're trying to compromise with this thing, and we're trying to make it just like get past it so we can make it work, but we still have to let these people have these beliefs. We still have to, compromise with these people. We still have to work together. And I think like as Black women now, I think we've come to this place where we're like, no, we're done, because we've tried. We have tried. We've been trying this whole time to work within the spaces that have been carved out for us. And the people don't want it. They only want us to stay in those spaces. And as soon as anyone tries to get out, tries to do something better, they're like, forget it. Because like imagine anything. A room with 100 Black women, right? Because we're again, we came in strong. So whatever the right is imagining of the world the left wants, that's what we want.
Right.
I don't even think you could tell me what that is, what they're so afraid of. But imagine you have a room, you got a hallway. On one side, you've got a room with 100 Black women. On the other side, you've got 100 white evangelical men. Which room would you feel safer putting your baby in? Which room would you feel safer putting anyone in? Which room would you feel safer in? That's what we were trying to give. And white supremacy said no. And so now it's like, fine. You guys want to talk about besides, then you have to go over there. We're not doing besides that anymore. Because it's literally detrimental to Black people, not just in the sense of like police brutality and all that, but like there are studies of like stress weathers people. Black women are being weathered. Like our health is being affected. Our happiness is being affected. And for what? For these people who are never going to care about us, who are never going to have our back the way we've had everyone else's back. And so now it's getting to the point where I think it's like, okay, no, we want two different nations, clearly. And I think on a personal level, we're all kind of making those decisions now where it's like, no, there are just certain people I just cannot have space for. I can't. There's certain people, again, I saw someone in the comments mad because, I said, may God not have mercy on their soul, and Tim, you should. That's how I feel.
I banned them.
And like
they were annoying me. I did. I said ban them. Go away.
Because like what? I'm tired of having the conversations about the besides. And again, trying to compromise with these deep, dark, detrimental things. And it's like, no, either we got to have the real conversations or we just need to stop talking. Because what are we doing? Everything that has been, right, has brought us to this point. And like, if our ways and methods were good, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But like we've come this far, shit's not working. It's not going to suddenly get better. Like next week, we're all just going to have an epiphany and be like, oh, you know what? That was crazy. Now Trump is sane and all is well. Like things are not going to turn around overnight. So we've got to move forward in this. And I think everyone is just reevaluating who they're going to be moving forward with. And again, we've all been being shown who we are and who the people around us are. And like, this is the opportunity to be like, okay, who can I trust and who can I move forward with? Who can I build community with? Yeah. And a lot of people just aren't making the cut.
Maybe a way I can ask the question to you, Jen, because I think it's really, really well said. Are you mad at the establishment? Nothing to do. I'm not Harris. The bigger people, the donor class, the people who do fund the DNC. I mean, again, Adam Kinzinger voted with Trump like 90% of the time. He's on that stage. Dick Cheney endorses Harris, and they go, "Look, we got Dick Cheney." I'm like, the warmonger? Like, I don't know. This feels like a lot of whiteness to me, kind of inside of the DNC in a lot of ways. That's what I'm kind of asking. Is like, so do you feel frustrated even at the establishment for whatever reason, having no problem kind of playing footsies with some of the people who either did vote with Trump a lot of the times or were part of the Bush administration, pushing us into like crazy amounts of war, which is a very, colonial empire kind of way. That's, I guess what I'm trying to get to on a big picture level, because I'm kind of pissed at that side of it too, of like, if the DNC builds itself as this party thinking about this stuff, I wasn't exactly thrilled with like their approach to try and combat whiteness or white supremacy.
Can I ask a question before Janice asks that question?
Yeah, am I in trouble?
No, I'm just going to ask, did you rage about this when Joe Biden became the presidential nominee? Because he like truly believed in the war on drugs. Didn't he call Black people animals? Like, to me, the DNC has always kind of been about whiteness. Like, I voted for Joe Biden, and he himself, not like tangential people to speaking at the DNC, he himself said terrible things about Black people and believed in terrible policies for Black people. And so for me, I think the DNC is just who they always are. And I find it fascinating. It's been fascinating to watch people all of a sudden be like really upset about how the DNC operates. Like, the conversations we're having today are very different than the conversations we're having 4 years ago. But Janice, go ahead. I just wanted to.
Can I answer that real quick? And I can't speak for anyone else. I can speak for me. 4 years ago, TNE didn't even exist, so I wasn't in this space at all. I honestly, this is my first time in any election being this tapped into Democratic DNC type politics. So yeah,
can I ask you another question then?
Of course you can.
I know 4 years ago you wouldn't have voted for Donald Trump, right? But
I voted for Biden. 4 years ago.
Yeah. But like 5 years ago, were you a Democrat? 6 years ago, were you a Democrat?
No, I voted third party in 2016, and then I just after BLM and COVID, I was like, I have to vote, differently. I can't do third party anymore. But no, the answer is no.
I think I really kind of balk at the idea that I actually love that these white warmongers were like, Trump's bad, because for the first time probably in their entire political career, they made a decision to do something based on their morals versus their party. And so I think the DNC is white. That is just the reality of this country. Most people in this country are white. So Jill Stein, the Green Party, is white. Like, most political parties in the United States are white with some people of color sprinkled in. And so for me, I actually appreciated that these very Republican people were trying to say to their people, their constituents, their folks, that's their job, said, whoa. We're going to go with Harris because this is crazy. This is insane. And so I think I feel like, and I'm not speaking of you in particular, but I'm just saying, okay, I'm sorry. And so say hi to Aggie. I'm just saying in general, like, a lot of white Democrats and leftists are like angry about this. This is like the talking point when like no one has ever talked about this before this election. But Janice, please go. I apologize.
No, that's really helpful. Honestly, I appreciate you sharing that. It brings a lot of clarity. Yeah, it's helpful. Go ahead, Janice.
No, like, it's hilarious to me that that's like upsetting to you, Tim, because I feel like that would have been like right up your alley. Again, I think we fell into another moral purity test, but like, this whole thing is always supposed to be not about teams, right? Like, we're trying to get people to vote your conscience, vote your morals. Yeah. And so like, I thought, and again, like, the DNC, we're all armchair quarterbacking. We're all sitting over here, I got my degree from Hillsong College, and so I know all things about
and I got no degree, so there you go. I was homeschooled for 9 years.
But like, the DNC, it's a business, right? And so when I saw them bringing in Republicans and not paying attention, to the uncommitted movement, or not paying attention the way, they would have liked, I'm like, these people have been doing this for years. They know what they're doing. They're running the numbers. And so they're going after votes. Like, they're here to win. They're not here to, I don't know. What do you guys think they wanted to do? Like, they're pulling these people in because they're like, okay, by ourselves, we can't do this, right? We've got these people. We've got this huge chunk of the movement that is over here that's not going to vote for us. It's always razor thin because, again, the Electoral College and all of these things. So we need people on our side. This is tug of war, right? And so if we're just trying to get this rope to this side, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, Liz Cheney, you're a Republican. You can't come over here. No, get over here, Liz Cheney. Yeah, because like Ashley was already going to vote for Harris. I was already going to vote for Harris. And again, blue bubbles, we don't even matter, right?
Yep.
The people who were already going to vote for Harris were already going to vote for Harris. And so they had to reach into whatever bags they could to get whatever votes they could. So like, I wasn't mad about that at all. Honestly, I'm like, I get it. You're just trying to get your numbers up. And again, we're falling into these moral purity tests. And you have to, the right, they do not like each other, right? These people have all these horrendous secrets. They're backbiting. They don't agree on stuff. None of them believe this Bible that they're thumping on and touting and trying to sell. Like, but they know how to cooperate to get shit done. And the left doesn't know how to do that. Like, we're over here, I need to know exactly how you feel about every issue. And if we don't align on all things, then we can't work together. And that's a weakness of the Democratic Party in this election, but in all elections. Honestly, sometimes it was shocking, right, when they switched Joe Biden out, because it was like, oh, they're actually listening, and it seems like they might actually want to win, because most of the time, like, the Democrats are, Charlie Brown with that football, right? Like, we're gonna go kick it again. We know she's gonna pull it away, but we're just gonna keep playing this game. But with this campaign and reaching out to the Republicans, I'm like, no, yeah, you need numbers, run up the score, fine. Because we're in it to win. We're not here to, again, I don't know, play patty cake, sit around a campfire and all talk about all the things we agree on.
I'm with you. I mean, I'm the reason why I didn't talk about this before the election was because I wanted Harris to win. I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep my mouth shut about Dick Cheney and shit, and we'll talk about it later, like whatever. Because I'm with you. Like
who is a politician? Name a politician who isn't a more warmonger. Like, they're all like, when you become a politician,
guys, haven't you heard Trump is going to stop all the wars? Like, he's the man of peace.
Like, when you're a politician, the nature of the United States, and because of the massive amounts of military money we spend, bodies we have, like, we're just a war country. And that sucks, because I don't want that to be the case. But it is just a reality. Like, no politician, from the most liberal to the most conservative, all of them have blood on their hands for war in this country, and most are warmongers. And so I think, like, I just am not willing to, I think I just am more pragmatic, and I understand that, like, AOC, who I love AOC. I do. I'm an AOC girl. She's made political decisions that feel conservative to me, and I don't agree with, because politics in America, for good or for bad, it's a game. And I think that, like, I think if Biden, and this isn't to you, Tim, because I know this is the first time you've had conversations. I'm not going to say that again, but I'm just saying in general.
Sure.
The commentary of, like, if Joe Biden had Dick Cheney on there, people would be like, they're old college buds. They're all like, they've been in politics together as long as oldest time, because they're both old as hell. And I feel like, because I just think the expectations for Harris are different. And so the conversations we're having, we've never had conversations. It's like how when Mike Pence was vice president, when Joe Biden was vice president, I don't really know who the vice presidents were before that. Sorry, guys. Sorry, team. Wasn't voting. We never, ever lay the blame of the president's choices on those VPs, but the way that the left was like, Kamala's VP, she should be doing more. Take a civics class. Take a damn civics class.
No, for sure.
Because the vice president just sits on the Senate, and they're a tiebreaker. She's had no opportunity to make, she does not do policy. That's not her job. Her job is to be the president if Biden doesn't make it.
Right. Well, yeah.
So I think
let's not forget too. The second Harris was running, the right wing talking point about her her sex life, which is it was such a
Yes.
mischaracterization anyway. But she slept her way to the top, right? Like the
Yes.
immediate misogynistic, sexist, like the attack started immediately in
Immediately.
ways that like would never happen with any other candidate. I mean,
No.
Trump literally is the epitome of who they claim Harris was, but for real. And no, he's great. He's great. But Harris, oh, well, she just slept her way to the top. And again, factually, not even the case. Like, factually, a false statement. But her, because she's a woman, because she's a black woman, her sexuality immediately called into question, right? And it's so, I totally agree. Maybe a question I can ask you both then, because I think what we all agree on is we're all kind of pragmatic of like, whatever we got to do to win, especially given the threat of maybe we can say is the overtly overt white Christian nationalism of just, hey, we want to take over the country. Hey, we want Project 2025 in place. Hey, DEI needs to go away. Like all the there's no more whistles, right? The dog whistles there. That was like early 2000s, No. They're just blatantly obvious about getting rid of Black history in high school and all that stuff. So, pragmatically speaking, what do you both think the DNC should be doing going forward, right, to win and to, I'm not sure what we call it, sanity, some kind of normalcy, which is still full of supremacy, granted, but just something to combat what really is. And I audience out there, I don't like to be someone who parodies right wing sky is falling all the time talking points if it's not justified. But I'm dropping an episode on Monday with scholar Matthew Taylor. He was literally crying on the podcast because he's so scared. And he's a white man, but he's also a freaking scholar of Christian nationalism. He knows what's up. Like, scholars don't come on my podcast to cry in front of thousands of people. He was literally crying. So I'm terrified. I know you guys are, but I don't like what's happening because it really is a red alert moment. So pragmatically, how do we navigate the next few years?
Can I be honest? I'm not really terrified.
You're not terrified?
Here's the thing. I've been talking about this in therapy a lot. I don't really have a nihilistic bone in my body. It is what it is. And I'm very hopeful in personality. And so I think that I would feel different if I lived in a different state, but I think I'm just so hyper aware of my proximity to Canada. I'm so hyper aware of the blockers that exist in the state that I live in. I have access to wealth. I have access to family. And so I do think there are reasons to be scared. That's not what I'm saying. I'm watching Trump's picks every day. Like I'm seeing the writing on the wall. Like,
yeah, fucking disaster.
There is a disaster. I am very aware. I'm also Black. I am married to a woman. I will have children through IVF. Like, I embody a lot of reasons why I should be afraid. But that's not how I operate. And I think that for me, I think that is just, I don't know if that's deeply ingrained in me because I'm a Black woman and we just have a grit and a resilience that a lot of people in this country don't have. That my ancestors, maybe, we don't know because we won't experience Trump, but my great grandparents were slaves. My grandpa was the first person in my family not born into slavery. My family, I'm very intimately in my lineage. My grandfather was raised by slaves, and so there are ways in which he was raised that were then trickled down to my mom and trickled down to me. That's not a lot of people. My grandfather grew up in the time of sharecropping, right? And Jim Crow and all of these things. And so I think that for me, and this doesn't have to be everyone, but for me, so far, my ancestors have dealt with a lot worse, and they didn't have access to wealth, and they didn't have access to the internet, and they didn't have access to these things. And so am I nervous about Trump presidency? Do I think that it could be the end of America? Sure, maybe. But is it a miracle that my family survived to get to this point? Is it a miracle that I am here in this conversation? I think so. My family literally went from South Carolina. They migrated to Washington, and they were in places like Arkansas and Texas. And as very visibly Black people, they survived. And so it's so ingrained in me that I will survive this. Do I know how? Do I know what it will look like? No. But do I just have a hope, and maybe I'm wrong, but it just lives in me that I will survive.
Yeah, I'd say same. I'm not terrified either. And again, I'm very aware of my privilege of
Yeah.
where I live and the things that I have access to. But also, and maybe I think Ashley and I are like the two sides of the same coin. All my bones are nihilistic, I think. But it's
You said it,
very
not me.
it's very hopeful. It's a very
Yeah.
hopeful nihilism. Like, I'm just really, again, none of this is real. It's all made up. Like, we are living in the imaginations of the worst, the worst white men to ever do it, right? And I think we get stuck and we get caught and we get afraid because we're trying to figure out how to survive, but we're also trying to figure out how to keep these systems. And like, the systems cannot stay. Like, this nation cannot remain. Like it just can't. And like, America's has had civil war before. America's attempted, to break up. I think that's the next step. Like, I don't believe in rapture, right? So there's no easy way out. Empires come, empires go. We know that no empire lasts forever. But again, I don't think the people in the last days of empire know what it looks like, because something I've been thinking about a lot lately is like, they say the victors write the history and the artists write the songs, and kind of like looking at the victors right now, right? I'm like, oh, I wonder how much of our history has been written by sore winners, right? Like, you would think these people are having like a great time and would be telling a great story, but like, if all of the winners, the bad winners that we know of, have been like this, we don't know. We know too much about like too little of history. Like, and we keep saying, oh, history repeats itself. And so we're looking at Nazi Germany and what happened there. And yes, we are recreating a lot of these steps. But I think we're doing that because people like don't have imaginations, and people think the way things are is the way things have always been and the way things always have to be.
Right.
And they don't. So how do we survive? We can't. Capitalism is not good. Colonialism is not good. Imperialism is not good. All these things that this nation was built on are not good. And we're trying to figure out, again, we're trying to have all these conversations about, okay, besides that, okay, if we can't talk about colonialism, we can't talk about imperialism, we can't talk about capitalism, how do we keep this system afloat? We've gotten to the point where we can't anymore. And so I worry about what Trump is going to do. But then I'm also like, again, nations have broken off before. They were all together at one point and then they weren't anymore. And so that I think is in our very near future. What exactly that's going to look like, I don't know. But I think we should know history, like be aware of it, but we have to stop like rewriting the story. Like, we have to stop putting ourselves in these old roles and acting like this is the only way the story can go, and we're at this part now, so then this is what has to come next. We don't know. We can imagine, we can believe, we can look forward to better things, but it's not going to be comfortable. We cannot keep these systems. We cannot. What does the Democratic Party need to do? They probably need to not be anymore. It can't be fixed. Like, they are who they are. They've gone as far as they can go. If we have another election, like, I don't know, somebody bet me $5. I don't think this country is going to look the same in 4 years. Like, I just don't see us going through this presidency like Trump's first presidency. And like
For sure.
I feel like he's not a smart man. I mean, we know that. And then we see what he's doing with his picks. I'm like, this is a deeply unserious and like spiteful. Like I think they
Right.
know this ship is going down and like
Right.
they don't care. They're just doing whatever. And so we're being ridiculous when we're over here like trying to salvage. Why are we trying to salvage this thing?
Mm.
Like I think people need to kind of like step back and be like, okay, what actually matters to me? What do I actually want to keep? And like don't label that as America. Like if America is gone tomorrow, what what do you still have? What do you still want to keep? Cuz like all of these systems, again, I have no hope in them. I don't care about them. They need to go. And like we have to be I think we have to be open to that and to saying, all right, this is what we've done thus far, but everything that brought us this far has taken us as far as it can, and now we have to find better paths forward. Uh,
LOL,
not
Janice, you're
just
so funny.
not just in our faith, but like
Hmm.
in our nation.
300 million people in the nation, and that's a lot of people to move in. Yeah. I maybe I guess my job is to be the bro evangelical alpha male here and say, yeah, no fear, faith over fear. But honestly, I mean, I am pretty fucking terrified. Like and not for me. I live in New Jersey. I'm a white man. I mean, I'm pretty freaking insulated. I just think about what happens if the people that Trump brings into the cabinets, into the office, like get what they want. If Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, who has Crusader tattoos on him, who does work with Doug Wilson and cites him as a great theologian, if that man gets what he wants, like people are going to really die. And I just think about that all the time because I'm like, I unfortunately for me, I've been so embedded in these Christian nationalist spaces, going to their events, hearing them denigrate everyone except for white men like them, and talk about how third worlders are destroying the country and how DEI is makes Charlie Kirk scared to fucking fly because of black. I just hear this shit all the time, and then I'm like, great, they just got access to the levers of power that other people are dependent on to survive. Like there are systems in place, as broken as they are, that people and kids like rely on to get educated and to be able to get fed, like in some kind of way. And just the thought of what could, not that it would, I do think that there are things in place to hopefully slow the train. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like RFK for Secretary of Health, like are we joking? Like that's
Yes,
anti-vax stuff that will kill people. I mean, that's where I get just so like maybe almost too realistic. Where I'm like, no, like this is people are gonna fucking die, like maybe more than what we're used to. I know that sounds really cynical, but I get no matter what people, I get that, but like it's just God, I'm still thinking about that.
It's
A
such
lot.
it's just such a dark timeline, and I don't know, even just the fact that like, oh, people are gonna die. I mean, more people. Like we have been pushed to accepting so much insanity, so much death, so much actual dehumanization
Right.
and again, we're still trying to compromise with these things. And so I think the Democratic Party, can it be saved? Who cares? I don't think it can. But like we have to stop talking about these things as like these old systems and these old organizations. I don't care about the Democratic Party. Let's talk about us. Let's talk
Mm.
about, our friends and our family. And like Ashley and I joke about it all the time. Like, Tim, you and your, oh no, dehumanization. And it's great for T&E. It's great. It's needful. There
We'll drag
is
you.
yeah, because there is a line, right? Some things are dehumanizing and some things are just mean. And I am fine to be mean, right?
Same.
And I am fine to not, I don't like everyone. I don't trust everyone. I don't want everyone around me. And I think part of the leftists, the Democratic, wanderers, these people, we have to be okay with not being nice, not being liked, not, again, playing by these random rules that society has said. And they've only said it now, right? Like, oh, violence is never the answer. Well, it was for a long time, but now you don't like that, right? And you've seen over the past few days, these conservative women, talking about, again, they've imagined it, they've made it up because no one's really thinking about them, right? But they're saying these liberal women are going to jump us and blah blah blah, whatever. And I think like people have like these perceptions of the right wing. They love guns and they love, blah blah blah, whatever. And like, when Kamala Harris came in, she's like, I have a gun. Yeah, I have a gun.
Glock.
Like
That's what she said.
there are guns in this house. Like I think people are counting on Democrats, leftists, kind of being what they've made these caricatures of us to be, right? Like these weepy, sad snowflakes.
Yeah.
Right? And we're not. We have guns. We have rage. We haven't used them, right? In the same way. And I don't think we're not offensive. We're not violent. But we do have things that matter to us and we will defend ourselves. And I think the right is not, they don't have that perception in mind and they're not thinking of that. And so even as Trump is like destroying all these structures, that's going to be up to us as communities, as people to be like, okay, if that's gone, what are we going to do now? And if they're trying to take this away, are we just going to sit here and, well, I guess I just have to wait till 2028 and vote and hope again? It's like, no, like these systems were made up by, again, very bad men. And it's just weird that like we live in these loops of, I guess those were the greatest thinkers ever.
Right.
And the system was perfect. And now we can't critique it and we can't fix anything. It's like, no, we live in a modern world. So we're going to have to figure out how to change these systems and how to like wrest this power back. And whether that power is the actual government itself or ourselves as people and as communities, and so be it. But like I think we're just getting to a point where more people are waking up, unplugging from the matrix and being like, wait, what parts of this work for me and what parts don't? And then how much do I even want to participate in this system?
Right. A couple of thoughts on this, then Ashley, I'll hand it over to you. Over the past, especially 4 years, as I've just kind of really witnessed this MAGA thing really blow up, I'm at the point where I'm like, there's no shared reality. I feel like I'm arguing with people who think that the earth is flat and are willing to go to war over it. And I'm like, guys, if we can't agree on basic realities of like, no, the election wasn't stolen, no, the earth is round, not flat. I don't know how, like, to your point, Janice, I don't believe in compromising that the earth is flat, is flat or not. Like that's not a debatable thing. The election wasn't stolen. This is not a debated thing. Like it's objectively not a true statement, the election being stolen, right? And we, in the MAGA world, they really have created an alternate reality. And by the way, this is their own words. I mean, was it Kellyanne Conway in 2016? That's just alternative facts. I mean, literally have created a world that is upside down. Like their not entire, but many of what the things that they believe and run on are completely not grounded in a reality that corresponds to the world that we live in. And when that happens, and those people believe that the other side can't be reasoned with or can't be trusted and needs to be destroyed, and that they're, etc., you can't compromise with that. It's impossible to. It is impossible to, because you're living in two different realities. And so I share a lot of your sentiments, because I think sometimes people get into my DMs and they mistake that because we don't dehumanize, that somehow we just like tolerate all these different perspectives because, both sides. It's like, no, that's not how this works at all. I hope that you repent and see a better way, but we're going to oppose you every step of the way, politically and socially, because your views are actually killing people. Like literally, I mean, let's just be honest. Today is the Trans Day of Remembrance. And I think about all my trans friends who are, I just interviewed Mish, a trans woman who said, like, yeah, we're scared as fuck. Like, we're trying to build behind the scenes systems of mutual aid to support each other because we're really concerned that our access to healthcare or our access to gender affirming care that is literally life saving will be taken away because of what is now emboldened under the Trump administration. Like, these are real people that are looking at real consequences based on who has levers of power. So you don't compromise with that kind of dehumanization, right? I also think that the way you solve that isn't by becoming the same thing that you're critiquing. That's for a different discussion. We can argue that to a degree because whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you, Janice. What I'm trying to say, like, I agree, and I more and more think about like how the reality that I thought I shared at one point with many people seems to not be there anymore, and it's maybe for you it's not, but for me, still kind of being new to this way of thinking and just kind of having my eyes open to new realities, it is quite jarring to be like, whoa, like, I mean, it just feels like how did I get to a point where the white evangelical tradition that raised me on this language of truth, be obsessed with truth. And I know you're both laughing probably because you're like, Tim, how did you not see it? I get that. But, you're just taught from day one, like truth matters. The election was stolen. It's like, whoa, guys, I agree, truth matters, which is why we can say objectively the election was not stolen. It's just like, it just boggles my mind still. But that's from my own monologue and my own time to rant on the show. Anyway, yeah, I mean, Ashley, I'm not sure if you have any thoughts on this, but it's just, wow, it's something.
I think I find it fascinating how, listen, people have been dying in this country forever, since the dawn of this country. And I find it fascinating that it feels like we're so worried about people dying now when people were dying a year ago. People are dying today. And it's because of the work of it's because of the phenotype of those people. Because the more people look like you, Tim, the more we care about them dying, whether they have other marginalizations that they exist in. And what I think is interesting is I think about Black people who in this country have been under constant threat. I think about Native American people who have been under constant threat since the inception of this country. And I think about the fact that when you think about like the suffrage, Black people were standing with white women, even though they were not going to get the right to vote. When you think about the Underground Railroad, when you think about when you think about Black people who were freed fighting in the Civil War because they knew that it would be a better future, even though they wouldn't totally be free, right? I just think that when you think about Black women in the 60s who were creating schooling for Black kids and like meal programs so that they could eat. Like Black people in this country have continued to have imaginations, and they have actually operated both in the system and outside of the system to ensure that Black lives and everybody else would survive. And I feel like a lot of Black women, the other day, Tim, I thought of a really good idea to actually protect. I thought of a really great idea that TNA could do that would support all the things that are going on. And the reason that I didn't reach out is because I really had to like grapple with myself of like, why do I feel responsible for this? Why do I always feel responsible for ensuring that everyone is okay when nobody in this country gives a fuck if I am? Nobody. And so I need a little break from continuously organizing and caring about people for free when people don't care about my livelihood. They don't care about how I'm doing. And I will get over it because I'm hopeful and it's in who I am. But for right now, I'm taking a break from pouring myself into movements and advocacy for people who continuously show me that Black people in this country don't matter. So I think what I feel really frustrated with is a lot of white people are like, I'm so scared, because you've never had to be scared before. So you're scared for the first time in a way that Black people, Native American people, the undocumented have been the whole time that they've been in this country, and the people, their ancestors, right? And so I think what I feel like my immediate reaction with the results of the election was, my immediate response was, okay, so what do I do to support the most marginalized and the most vulnerable? What are the steps that I need to take? What's the next best thing that I can do? And then I was like, oh girl, you know what? You mad at this country and you can take a break, because Black people, Black women been trying to save this country, not just in elections, but in movements, in feedings, in protections, like all the ways. Black women have been on the forefront of language and showing up and being, like, you always hear about grandmothers praying for their grandkids. Like, we have been on the side of protecting and saving. And for me, what I love is for white people to stop talking about how scared they are and to start using their imagination on how we can actually start protecting people. I think it's okay to be scared. It's okay to verbalize that you're scared. I get it, because it's not your first rodeo. It's not your first time in the ring. I get it. But I think that what I want to see from white progressive, white leftists is the grit that a lot of Black women in this country have, where we fall on our knees, we dust ourselves off, and we do the next right thing. And so I think that for me, like, if for the systems that I want to change, the DNC is trash, the RNC is trash, the Electoral College is garbage. This country is just a dumpster fire right now. But there are people in this country who can do the right things, who have the resources to do the right thing, and who have the desire. And I think all of us just need to, as Janice has said multiple times, like, we need to have imagination on how to create better systems. And if we can't create better systems at the highest level, we need to create on the ground systems that protect the most marginalized, right? And I think that if we're going to talk about looking at history, we can actually find really amazing nuggets from Black people and Black women who have constantly created on the ground systems to protect people in this nation. We can do it. And I think for me, like, I think that's also why I'm not, like, again, me and Janice, same coin, different sides. I think another reason why I'm not nihilistic is because I just so believe in people's ability. And as a Black woman, I've seen Black women before me in real time. I'll see them after me protect the most marginalized in this country. And we just need everyone else to do it. And I'm not talking about the white Christian nationalists. I'm talking about the people watching this live right now, the people of TNE, the progressive white Christians. Like, we all can actually, like, create coalitions where we don't have purity tests, where we actually can meet each other and we can bring each other along, and we can create systems on the ground that protect the most marginalized. And then guess what? Not as many people are going to die. And people will still die, because people die in this country because this is a dumpster fire. But we can create systems that make it so there is more hope and more people are safe. But we just get so on the left, and we just get so, like, not me, not the Blacks. We just get so down, we get so downtrodden that we just give up. And so that's my, I want to see more white folks. I want to see the most scared white folks who have never been faced with a time in history like this, where they're being targeted for their identities. I want to see those people have imagination, cry, be sad, and then fight for better systems. And ask Black women, look to Black women to say, you have done this since the dawn of time. How can we do this now? It's possible.
Actually, don't ask us, because we're off duty.
We're a break. We're taking a break. We're taking a break.
We're in recess.
Go read some books. Go do your Googles.
I mean, yeah.
And
Mhm.
and I think what I want to see from white leftists, progressives, Ashley was talking about that grit. And again, same coin, different sides. I need y'all to throw some of your family members away. I need y'all to we can't no purity test, right? But you voted for Trump, that's not a purity test. We cannot be in community. You are not send your emails to T&E. If you voted for Trump, you are either not smart or you're not a good person. You can be smart and not good, or you can be good and not smart, but you can't. There's no reason you would vote for Donald Trump. There's nothing he was going to do that the Democrats weren't going to do, except for heinous things that were going to hurt somebody or some group that you don't like. So that's that's the hill I'm going to die on. And so, in that vein, we're not going to be friends. You cannot be in my coalition. Maybe in 4, 8, 5, 10 years time, right, when you've had a change of heart, but right now, no, we can't be friends. And so some of the white leftists and progressives also need to make some of their friends and family feel some consequences. How are you out here voting to hurt my trans friends, but we're all good, we're buddy buddy? People need to actually decide who matters to them and who their community actually is. Because I don't know, maybe things would have been different if people had drawn some hard lines listen, if Trump gets in, you're not going to see your grandkids for the length of his presidency. Doesn't matter what you do, right? So you need to go talk to your friends, right? But these people, there's no real consequences. And I think that's what white people who are afraid for the first time now are feeling, because consequences are coming for them and they feel like it's not fair because they're I didn't do it, I didn't vote for him, I did the right thing. Well, it's too little too late. And welcome to the existence so many of us have been living in, where we've been trying to do the right thing, we've been trying to think of other people, and it hasn't been working out for us. And now it's not going to work out for some of y'all. And guess what? It's not because of the Black people. It's not because of the immigrants. It's not because of the trans people. It's because of your cousin, your best friend, your mom, your dad, your grandpa. They did it, but now we have to have these conversations, and now Black women have to hold your hand and call you. No, go talk to them. Be mad at them. Deal with that. Root it out of your own self and your own family. Otherwise, the cycle is just going to continue. And it's going to continue with you guys, right? Because the rest of us are backing out. And we are imagining different and better ways, right? And Black people have built communities, have built ways outside of the system. And the system has come in and blown it up, literally, right? Time and time again. And I think with this presidency, because he is so ridiculous and because it is a fire sale on America and we're going out of business, series finale, whatever, and they're just doing whatever, I don't think they're going to have the same capabilities to be as destructive as they have before. And so I think Black people, other communities of color, trans folks, I think these communities are going to band together and we are going to imagine better ways forward. We are going to build our way out of this. And white folks, if you want to come along, it's going to cost you something. And you're going to have to make some decisions, draw some hard lines. And the time to start doing that is now.
Well, on that note,
can I make one distinction?
Sure.
I wanted these white people to talk to their families before Trump got elected. Not necessarily, I feel like we threw him away too soon. I don't know how I feel about not being in relationship with Trump voters. Like, I have no opinion about that. I still need to come to my thoughts. But I think prior to the election, too many people just refused to actually like go to the mat with their families about it. They just kind of backed away, but they're going to show up on Christmas. Um, and and that's the part that I feel like maybe there could have been some movement in swing states with some of these moderate voters whose families abandoned them and they were just angry. And that's I wish more conversations happened before the election. It's too late now. I wish they happened before. I want to make that distinction.
Someone's asking me in the chat for my thoughts. And sometimes you don't have to have thoughts. You just have to listen and let it sink in and process.
So funny.
I will be processing these thoughts for sure. I mean, I don't know. I feel like, Janice, you and I are good enough friends where I can offer just some of my thoughts to this, and like without trying to, of course, change your mind, because that isn't the point. I don't know. The disowning family thing, right? Like, I don't know if disowning your family will change their mind to vote differently. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, that's what I get stuck on, is like, if I told, whoever in my life that voted for Trump, or let's say this is before the election, I'm like, hey, just so you know, if you vote for Trump, you're never going to see me again. I don't know if they'd be like, oh, I'll do anything to maintain it. I don't know if that would actually change their vote. I mean, I live in New Jersey. We voted blue. We always do. But I'm just saying, that's the part that I get not hung up on, or that I'm like, oh, Jenna's too far. I just don't know what that does besides prove to the family members of like, oh, the mind virus really did get my kids. I'll just keep praying for them. I don't know if it changes their mind on anything. At the same time, I don't know if the love bombing approach of like, come on, we can work together and you're a family, I don't know if that changes their mind either. I don't know if kids have the ability to even change the minds of your parents often. I don't have the ability to change my parents' mind. Like, I have tried. I've tried all kinds of conversations. They still see me as the kid. And I just think that's my only thought that I'm thinking through in real time with you, is like, totally get it. I just don't know what it does ultimately, besides like, say I'm taking a stand for something and it's going to cost you this, and good luck with your life because the damage is done. These are raw out loud thoughts. I don't know.
I have a friend who's from the Midwest, and their parents voted for Trump in the past, and they just continued to have conversations, continued to expose them to people that they loved. And I don't know where they fall in things, but they didn't vote for him in this election. And so I think that, like, hearing that, but this friend had conversations. Like, that's the big difference. Like, they did not just act like it was not a thing. They actively did the hard work of talking with their family and saying, the way you're voting is harmful. And I think a lot of people, that's too hard, and they want to keep the peace, and they don't do that part. And so for me, I think that's why I'm like more in the middle of this, because I have actually seen my friends' parents change. Especially before, a lot of my Christian friends' parents knew me as heterosexual Christian Ashley, and now I'm in a gay relationship. And I have seen my friends' Midwestern parents, multiple, change in how their belief system, because of how I love their child, because of how their child then shares those stories, and how they challenge and show up. And I have seen the needle move on people. I don't know that I would have thought the needle would move on 6 years ago. And so I think for me, I think there is so much value, and it's not always the case. And I think people have to decide this for themselves because it's not always the case. But I do think that there are points where you do have to just throw your family away and say, you hate Black people and I love Black people.
Right.
And I'm not going to be in relationship with someone who hates Black people.
Right.
But I think that there are sometimes a middle ground where you can kind of get away with not challenging your parents. And so the other side of that coin is you just don't ever talk about politics. You let your parents vote how they vote, or family or grandpa or wherever, and they're actively hurting people you care about. And you're like, path of least resistance. And I think that's not correct also. I think it is a fine line of saying, okay, you're not totally gone. It's my job because I love these people. My friends are like, because I love Ashley, I actually have to bring my parents along because I love her, and they've been able to do it. And I think if they can do it, most people can. People just think it's too hard, and they don't want to have the period of time where things are awkward or they can't rely on them to do the thing that they need them to do. And I think that is more my stance. I think I'm more nuanced in the middle, where there are times where we should just throw it away, and there are times where we should do the right thing is the hardest thing, and it's moving your parents to be on the side with the people you care about.
Right. I agree. Yeah. No. Yes, I agree. I don't know. I mean, I think that's a really good way of putting it. And I mean, that makes sense because even when this question comes up often in DMs and stuff. And, one thing I've realized is that everyone's family dynamic is so different and kind of unique to them. It's hard to give like the most blanket like prescription of like what you should or shouldn't do, but better to have like these principled ideas of like, hey, here's what you're aiming for. And depending on your situation, you might have to draw that hard line of say, look, I can't bring my kids around you because you're racist. Like, you literally are racist people, versus like, well, no, my parents can be reasoned with. I think I can kind of, lay it out like, listen, as your kid, these are my friends like that you're voting against, and maybe they can be, heard that way as well. So I think that makes a lot of sense. So, well, I mean, I don't know, guys. It's been almost 2 hours. I'm happy to keep going, but I also want to respect everyone's time, and it's also 10 o'clock my time. But this has been a really good conversation. I've eaten almost the entire bag. That's not true. I haven't. I got maybe like a quarter, and now I feel sick. So, and also this is my third cup of coffee. So there's that.
I'll add to the conversation about what to do with white liberal progressive families. Also, if you're going to be in communication with them, then like use them for use their resources. Like if you got a super racist father, grandfather, whatever, stay in that will, right? Like if that's part of your plan and your plot, then fine, do that. But make sure you are using those resources or planning to use those resources, earmarking those resources to help the people who have been harmed by your family and their vote, right?
That's good.
Like, we don't need allies anymore, right? Accomplices. That's what we need at this point. And so, like, we have to be more like the right in being strategic. Right.
Yeah.
And thinking long term and planning these things out. And so get them for all they're worth. But also give them hell while they're here. Like, hold them accountable for what they've been a part of and what's happening.
Sorry, Janice.
Cortland is my favorite human on the planet.
Cortland says, by the way, Cortland, good to see you. Cortland says, giving my transphobic menopausal mom's estrogen for my trans sisters.
Exactly.
That's how you do it.
Exactly.
There you go. We accomplice. Exactly. That's not ally material. That's accomplice material, right? Because you're getting in the grit. You're getting in the dirt. You're willing to get caught and get in trouble by mom, for doing that shit. Like, you're willing to put yourself on the line and get some consequences potentially, right? That's more. I don't know about you two. Whenever I see, especially white people, be like, proud ally, I'm like, that title is earned. Like it is not. You don't just like self-describe. I'm a black ally. I'm a queer. No. People who are in the community tell you that, and then what you do is you don't put it on your Instagram.
and it's on that day. It's
right.
that day.
Right.
Because tomorrow you can do some fuck shit and be out.
Right.
Again.
It's not a Girl Scout badge, like it's not how that works. And
it's
I'm
like
with you.
It's the blue bracelets.
Oh my God!
It's the I'm a safe ally. I have my blue bracelet. It's that.
Janice, you remember at the beginning of this live, like 4,000 hours ago, I say, Janice, you're such a good wordsmith. You just nailed this shit. Don't be an ally, be an accomplice. Like, damn, if that doesn't sum it up like so freaking well. We do not need more white allies. We need accomplices. I mean, to do my part as the new evangelicals, James Cone, the father of Black liberation theology, talks about this. He makes the point of like, are you really in solidarity with the oppressed if you're not being stung by the sting of oppression? If you're not feeling some of the consequences of what the people you're advocating for are going through, are you really in the fight? And to me, it's the same kind of idea, right? Like this accomplice versus ally thing. Allies put it in their Instagram bio. Accomplices steal their transphobic mom's menopausal, whatever, estrogen for their trans sisters. Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference, people, right? Like one is an action and one, frankly, is virtue signaling. I don't care what's on your Instagram bio if you're not donating to these causes, if you're not in the fight with people, if you're not tapped into your local community's needs of people on the margins. Maybe it's your unsheltered neighbors. Maybe it's your black neighbors or your trans neighbors. Maybe it's all the above. If you're not tapped in, if you're not going to the school board meetings, if you're not going to the government meetings, whatever it is, and you just have ally in your bio, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Like that's about you and getting accolades for doing nothing. And one thing that has always driven me crazy, and you both know this because you see my content, I hate when people don't get involved in the fight. Like, don't tell me you're deconstructing if you're not decolonizing. Don't tell me you care about black voices or trans voices if you're not reading the voices of those people who have done the work or the legacy of those voices. Anyway, I'm ranting now. But my point is that I agree, Janice. We need accomplices, not allies. So get in the freaking fight. Do what you can. It looks different for everyone. People have different callings, different abilities, different privileges, different access to privileges. Use it to make this happen. And for God's sake, if you're someone who loves TNE, get ally shit out of your bio. Like no one cares, and just do the freaking work. Oh, it drives me nuts. Sorry, a little rant, little rant.
And like you just said, like it looks different for everyone. So also like eyes on your own paper. Like I think a big
love that.
Part of the problem with this election, right, and the leftists was like expecting everyone else to be doing the exact same thing and being on the exact same page as you. Like we all have different, we were all born for such a time as this, right? But at different times to be in different places at this time. And so it's like if we're running a relay, right? Like we can't all be running at the same time, and you can't be mad at me because I'm still back at the starting line. Like it's not time for me to be where you are yet. It's not time for some people to be here yet, to be thinking like we're thinking. And so like we can't be demonizing them for doing something different. And we also can't be like yelling at the people who are up ahead. You don't know what they're thinking. You don't know what their plan is. And so for you to be, they don't have the same, their genocide is not their red line. They don't have the same morality. You don't know what their map looks like. You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know where they're going. Yeah. And so like, we all need to do the next right thing for us and to trust that the people who care for us, the people who we can trust, are also doing that. And so like, if you feel really alone, like, oh, I'm the only one doing this thing, you might be the only one who's supposed to be doing that thing right now. And that's okay. Like we can't keep looking for validation from what everyone else is doing, because most people are doing the wrong thing because they're following some other knucklehead, and they're doing it for their own gain. And so like, if you feel really alone, like, oh, I'm the only one doing this thing, you might be the only one who's supposed to be doing that thing right now. And that's okay. Like we can't keep looking for validation from what everyone else is doing, because most people are doing the wrong thing because they're following some other knucklehead who has a platform and, this must be the thing we're doing now. We're all getting the blue blaze. No, no, that's not what you're supposed to do. So again, do your part, but keep your eyes on your own paper. Mind your business, right? And especially right now, stay within your community. And I was saying this like before the election.
100%.
If you are not Black, if you're not a Black woman, you have critiques from me. Keep them.
Yeah, zip it. Just zip it.
Because until your community is all good, you don't have time to be worrying about what we're doing over here.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, the amount of white male deconstructionists that need critiques, go take that energy over there.
100%. No, for real.
Go take that energy over there.
If you are a white bro out there and you look like this and talk like this, or you like this kind of vibe, if you're drawn more to this vibe than whatever else is going on in your life, okay, I got words for you. You got plenty to critique, not only in our own deconstruction spaces, but in our white evangelical spaces. We should be the loudest voices pushing back on white Christian nationalism. That's not on our Black neighbors, our queer neighbors. It's not on any of those people. It is on the white men in particular to be the loudest, most, in your face, absolutely fucking not, Matt Walsh. I'm not dealing with your shit. It's on people like us to handle that. It just is. We have plenty of shit to critique in our own lane from white men in America, especially considering that a white man just took power with all his other white men, and it's a fucking disaster, right? So, and you're right. I mean, Janice, to your point, and I'm sure you noticed this, I did not. I saw a lot of takes on the internet from a lot of people. Now I'm like, okay, not really my vibe. I'm not sure how we navigate this and that. Is that a white man saying it? No. Boop, boop. Nope, not my job. You do you. You vote how you got to vote. I got plenty of people to critique in the white evangelical space and the white Christian nationalist space, and even in the deconstruction space to hold accountable. I don't need to cross over lanes and talk about what my Black neighbor is doing. That's on them and those folks to work out together, and I just sit and observe.
You know what I appreciate about you, Tim? You probably see videos from Jackie Hill Perry, and you say, "Nope, let me go hear Allie B. Stuckey's take." Let me go gather my people. Let me go gather my people. And you were like, and a Black and the Blacks, they'll get Jackie.
I will tell you, because we're friends, and I would tell you this offline, but I like doing it. I guess since you said it, that is absolutely true. In fact, I had when Lecrae hosts the Side B Christians, I see that shit and I'm like, And so my plan, I actually had a panel lined up with Timmy Spencer Helms and Christian Smith and Kevin Garcia. And I was like, why don't the four of us have a conversation, watch Lecrae's podcast interview? And that was intentional, because I try to be, listen, there are times where, of course, I think it's okay to, I've tweeted back at Lecrae being like, dude, like, what the hell on purity culture, whatever. But like, I really feel like there are so many white men that I should be talking about, like Mark Driscoll, and the list goes on and on. I don't need to worry about Jackie Hill Perry, because I know for a fact Black folks got Jackie Hill Perry. I know Timmy Spencer Helms, she's watching Jackie Hill Perry. She's doing, like, when I want to have that conversation, I'll have Tamise on the podcast. We'll watch an episode together, and I'll let Tamise just say what she needs to say. That, I think, guys, like, it just has to be the approach, especially for white dudes. Like, you gotta be aware of the dynamics, in my opinion. Like, the optics don't look good when you're not talking about Mark Driscoll or Ali Stuckey every day, and all you're talking about is Candace Owens or Jackie Hill Perry or Lecrae. Like, you just don't look good to me. It don't fucking look good. So I zip it.
Yeah.
and I text you guys. Can you believe this?
I think you're almost off probation.
Yes.
Yeah, you're close.
Thank you.
Oh boy. Well, listen. We're over 2 hours, so I think it's probably good to land the plane of this conversation. Friends, let me just say thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us on a Wednesday night. I will say this, grain of salt. I am thinking about the 2025 content strategy, and I do want to do more consistent lives like this. They're a little more casual, a little more fun, feel a little more communal. And so I'm trying to see if maybe going live on Wednesday nights kind of weekly for different kinds of conversations and content and guests and responses could be a different kind of flow for us to feel a little more in the moment, a little more community building digitally. So this is kind of a fun first attempt at that. So I would love your feedback. You can leave it in the comments, or you can email me or DM me, whatever. Janice and Ashley, I mean, it's always good talking to you, obviously. I'm sure we'll talk offline, but thanks for being here, for sharing your thoughts. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do, and I think that we need to, have the both and, have all the tensions, hear the different perspectives, and kind of navigate how we work together while holding distinct views, but sharing the same values. I think that's really just so key. So appreciate you both.
Can I give a plug before we go?
Yes, that was my last thing. Yes, please
plug.
plug.
I wonder if we're gonna give the same plug.
Ooh.
Go.
Probably not. Probably
Okay,
not. I want to plug a book by Ebony Janice. So it's Ebony, and then it's spelled like Janice, but it's Janice. And her book, All Black Girls Are Activists. So for the Black women, absolutely. And I think it could also be helpful for other folks to read. She just talks a lot. So it's about this fourth wave of womanism. So it's talking a lot about feminism and womanism. And then also how a little bit of what I was saying, like about like learn from history, but like we're not learning history to repeat it for like the sake of repetition. And like we need to honor those who came before us, but sometimes the best way to honor people is by being better than them, by acknowledging how what they did didn't work, right? And giving ourselves permission to think differently and try different things. Yeah, like Martin Luther King was amazing. And if I Have a Dream was enough, we wouldn't be having these conversations, right? And so it's like, again, honoring what came before us, being aware of it, but then also feeling the freedom to imagine better ways forward for ourselves, to like realize, again, we are here for such a time as this. It matters that we're here now, thinking the way we think, talking the way we talk, moving the way that we move, being passionate about the things that we're passionate about. And so to honor that as well, in believing that we have the mandate, the right, and the ability to imagine and build a better world.
Love that. Ashley.
Very different. Not anywhere near that. My plug is, if you want to hear more from Janice and I, we will actually be at an event called Content Warning in February. And hopefully Tim will bring up the dates because yeah, there it is. February 15th through 16th. Janice and I and some amazing collaborators, kind of the voices in the deconstruction space you don't usually get to hear from. We will be there in Atlanta, so please join us.
I will be at this event as well. So it's always a good time. I'm just going to hang out, though. I'm not doing anything besides just chilling out with great people. So, and yes, I mean, Celeste will be there. There's so many great names. Cortland and Crystal, Damon. I love Damon. See, this is a great lineup. And look at that. Janice is there. Erica Smith. Yes, great lineup. And I will say, for friends who are, I mean, we didn't plan on this, but I went to last year's Content Warning not knowing what to expect. I'm like, okay, there's a lot of focus on like, sex positivity. I'm coming out of purity culture. I've been married for 10 years. This is a new world. It was so good. Like it just gave me so many things to think about and to process and to kind of stretch my brain. So that event is just, it's just a great place to go to and hear really beyond whatever white evangelical purity culture you came out of. This is really going to stretch you, but I think in really healthy ways. So I recommend going as well. And by the way, my plug is, of course, for Janice. I mean, at God Has Not Given, like amazing content. Ashley, your stuff is private now, so I'm not sure if you have anything public you want me to share. I don't want to blow you up online.
No,
but
it's fine. It's okay. Fine. See me at Content Warning. I'll probably be public by then.
All right. Sounds good. But please make sure you follow Janice, friends. Like her stuff is amazing. Are you still doing the podcast, Janice?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We're still doing it, right?
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
at God Is Not Given on Instagram, that's kind of the hub for all of her amazing content. Friends, again, thanks for being here. It's great to have you all. We'll keep in touch. Have a great night. Goodbye.